Okay, I'm going to call this Plan Commission meeting for March 9th to order. It is 6 PM. The clock needs to be reset up there, but it is 6 PM. So roll call, please.
Chris Zellner.
Here.
Joe Zitzelberger.
Here.
Kristen Runge.
Here.
Brad Zeman.
Here.
Brian Malish.
Here.
Chris Thomas.
Here.
Brian Wallace.
Here.
Okay, first item is minutes.
Make a motion to approve?
Motion by Chris Thomas, second by Joe Zitzelberger. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Public comment for any items that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody who'd like to address the commission? Seeing no excitement in the room, I will move on. All right, first item is new business. Is number 1, public hearing, discuss an action for certified survey map, rezone site plan, and conditional use permit for Quick Trip LLC to construct a convenience store with fueling canopy at County Highway Q across from Peaceful Valley Parkway.
It's been removed from the agenda. It's been withdrawn.
Okay. Okay, next we have public hearing and discussion action on a request for conditional use permit to allow outdoor patio service, Landline LLC, 203 East Main Street, Waunakee, Wisconsin. Kevin, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, just
and then-
opening marks to say that the restaurant plan at the Lamp House is consistent with what was initially proposed. And so we do have some comments, and if you have some concerns, I did pull out the original approvals or comments we had back in 2017 that, they actually demonstrated a couple of restaurants in this complex. So this is one of them. This conditional use, though, the review is really limited to the outdoor patio seating. That's what's required, the conditional use, not the restaurant itself. That's a permitted use. But the fact that they're gonna have alcohol consumption out on the patio triggers the requirement for the conditional use permit.
Okay. Okay, then, and I'm gonna open up.
I don't know
Yes.
if the applicant wanted to make a presentation.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
And may I present it over?
Sure.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tanya, and I am a new person in Waunakee. However, I'm really excited to become part of your community. So, I'm a restaurant owner. I own Restaurant Red, downtown Madison, Wisconsin, and I've been approached by a developer of Lamp House Apartments, Eric Hofty and Hofty Properties, and I've been introduced to possibly open a restaurant in Waunakee. So we are proposing a new concept. It's not going to be sushi restaurant. It's going to be American elevated cuisine with beautiful cozy decor, and we are proposing to open for lunch and dinner service and brunch service. And so we are applying for conditional use for outdoor patio. So restaurant itself is going to be around 98 seats inside with additional 36 seats outdoors. We are going to be mainly restaurant. We're not going to consider it to be a bar whatsoever. I really want to provide beautiful elevated experience for people who live in Waunakee. So we are full service restaurant. The reason why we applied for the permit is basically making sure that we open, our hours are allowing us to serve alcohol, and we might have some entertainment, and we're gonna have amplified music on the outdoor patios. So I just would like to have a clear understanding and permissions from the city. What is allowed? When is it allowed? We don't want to upset neighbors. It's just really, truly want to be in addition to the community and to the city. So I would love if you have any questions.
So what we'll do is open up the public hearing, and we
Yeah.
might get some questions there.
Absolutely.
And then we can hopefully address them at that point. Sound good?
Sounds good?
Okay. So I'm gonna open the public hearing. It is 5 after 6 at this point. Do we have any sheets in tonight?
No.
Okay, is there anybody who would like to address the commission on this item?
Go ahead. Is anybody would like to?
Anyone? Okay. So then I am going to close the public hearing. at
You
this
know,
point.
may I just ask you, do you mind if I raise a question regarding one thing that, go,
We're probably gonna ask you some questions,
Sure,
is
go
my,
ahead.
my,
sorry.
I would guess. But at that point, if you have a question for us, that'd probably be appropriate.
No, I
Sound good?
will accept your questions
Okay.
first.
So I'm gonna start down on this end tonight. Brad, do you have any questions?
No.
Brian?
Nope.
Brian?
No,
Like,
Chris?
what are you considering your hours of operation right now? What are you proposing?
It's a good question, and right now, the way that my business plan works is that we are gonna be open. Monday, we're planning to be closed. Tuesday and Friday, we will be open from 11 a.m. till 11 p.m. Saturday, 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. However, being a restaurateur and owning currently a restaurant, it's hard to predict what exactly we will need or want in order to run successful operations. So I was wondering if city will be willing to be flexible with us. Either we start right now with these hours, and then if we need to open till later time, like 12 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, how would we approach application or permission to do so? But those are the hours that we proposed in the original application. I was wondering if we do need to make alterations to our hours of operations, how would that work in the future?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, Chris?
You mentioned possibly music. Would that only be on Fridays and Saturdays, or what days of the week were you suggesting?
I would say that music or live entertainment would be mainly on Fridays and Saturdays. And when I'm talking about music, I'm thinking of a little band of 3 or acoustic guitar or something that's very small and intimate and not meant to disturb or create a concert. So yes, Fridays and Saturdays. So the reason why it might affect outdoor patio, because currently building has 2 garage doors that open up, and we still don't know if we're gonna keep those doors, but they are part of the building. And if we do have those Friday, Saturdays entertainment and the weather permits, we would like to open the doors so the entertainments might flow into the outdoor space. So we're proposing it for Fridays and Saturdays only.
I do have one question. The outdoor seating, is that, there is an opening to the street in the outdoor seating? Or is it gonna be closed off?
It will be closed off, and according to my understanding, Waunakee Village requires fencing. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this red line shows that we will install fencing. And again, I'm sorry, I am kind of like answering with a question.
No, that's fine. So it's gonna be completely closed off, so the access to the outdoor seating is through the restaurant itself then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
go
that
ahead.
accurate?
There will be 2 gates on the front and the back, which can be managed. So that's probably for egress, emergency egress purposes.
Okay.
We were just wondering if city would consider us to operate outdoor seating with landscaping, because this landscaping right here, we were thinking landscaping is gonna happen no matter what, and I think you have information in the application. We are gonna plant some taller trees in here, and I was wondering, because installing fencing wasn't something that I was planning expense-wise, would you consider that landscaping would act as a barrier, and so we don't need to install the fence, or fencing is absolutely necessary?
Do you want to answer that, Ed?
Well, I was just gonna say a managed access point is probably not a bad idea when you're serving alcohol. It also protects you as a proprietor. It discourages people from not paying their bill.
It's understandable. I just wanted to ask the question, if it's something that, city would consider allowing us to do. If not, fencing it is, and we'll install the fence.
But it's only 36 inches. It's not,
Mhm.
it's not very overwhelming. It's to keep honest people honest.
You know, I think the plan commission has some discretion with that, because you can certainly consider, we have in the past, and it's consistent with, and these guys to my left can confirm, that plantings and vegetation planted in a certain manner really is considered fencing. So, I think you'd have the discretion to say, yeah, that proposed, the way it's planted, the way it's proposed would be consistent with serving as a fencing area around that area.
Okay, Joe?
A couple of different things. There's a note in the conditional use permit about fire pits. Where are those located on there? I didn't see a
I actually,
or maybe that's just,
That's just standard language, Joe,
standard
so
language in
I don't
there?
know if
Okay.
it's necessarily
I
one
don't
that's being
think they're
proposed.
having
It's just part of our standard
okay.
language
Mhm.
for outdoor seating where there's alcohol.
I'm not sure there's a lot of room. It's only 15 feet wide.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it, so,
Unless they're cooking tableside.
yeah. Well, and that's under, there's an overhang there, so, yeah, it would seem pretty bizarre.
Mhm. Yeah. It's
Um,
basically covered area underneath of the
Yeah.
building. Mhm.
If you were to go with plantings, just the ends, would those still have fences then, or?
That's and I don't know if you could maybe pull up that slide with our proposed landscaping. And so, can you just,
Back one, right?
this here shows very good picture of like where we would plant something tall enough, so it would definitely show that there is a separation and
A boundary.
exactly, boundary. We probably would still install gates here and then this end, just to give that boundary, but if, landscaping would go here. And there is another slide or in a separate email that actually shows the plants or vegetation that we propose in, I think that's the one. It's this scheme, and if you scroll up, there is another right here. This is kind of how it's planned to look. So, I don't know. Like I said, I am flexible. I totally understand. And I've drove around Waunakee, and it seems like every outdoor patio does have a fencing. In Madison, it's not so strict, and especially if it's in a private property. So I'm willing to work with whatever you guys tell me to do.
The only other question I have is one for staff. I assume any residents that are adjacent to this were notified?
Correct.
Okay. That's all.
Kristen?
The bands, when you have them, will be inside, I assume, and not out on the patio?
Inside.
That's my only
Mhm.
question.
Yeah, inside.
Okay, so could you go back to the original slide you were at? Actually, stop at the one with where the fencing question came up. Ed and Kevin, the way that's designed right now, if we have people in there, do we have any concern about the height of where they could fall off if we don't have that fenced?
The planter, I think, fulfills any kind of a vertical drop. It's usually 30 inches, 24 inches and 30 inches, so I don't think they need a 42-inch guardrail.
I'm just thinking of maybe residential, and if people have bushes outside their residential decks that they wouldn't be able to do that, they'd have to put a fence around it at a certain height, and I'm wondering if
If
that's
it's
height.
above 30 inches typically, yeah. But they also have about a 30-inch planter, which serves as a, what's it called? It's an indicator of the grade change.
Warning
If it was paved all the way to the edge, I think we'd have a different discussion.
Okay.
Make
it to the back
of the warning track.
Do you know when your anticipated start of construction is?
Hopefully in May.
May?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Planning May, but you never know with construction. May, June. Our anticipation to open doors in September, October. We really want to hit warm months, just have have ability for people to enjoy outdoor patio if possible, so.
Okay, so that was my next question, was anticipated opening, okay. And, can you go back to the original slide then? So where inside the building would you have your band set up?
So we have this little thing here, it's piano, so it's kinda like gonna be this decor feature, but also will be functioning piano, so we are thinking to, you know, either it's a pianist or maybe additional group of couple people who will be a band, so that's the place for it.
Okay.
It's not, I am not planning to make a big deal out of the entertainment, it's just something, just kinda like for the background. Maybe jazz music or just something like that.
Okay. Did we have an idea for the outdoor seating, what those operational hours would be, or are you planning for that to be the same as the indoor?
I think I am, how to say, I currently operate restaurant with outdoor seating, and everything is decided by the city and the neighbors. I don't want to create any disturbance, so I would love to keep the same hours as indoor. At the same time, I understand if we have to close outdoor patio earlier, we will do so. So that's, you know, my approach. If we could keep them until the hours that we indicated, I would love that. If not, again, I am flexible with what.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I do know that the speakers are gonna be outside, so you're trying to pipe some music out there as well.
Yes.
I think that would be, do we have some sort of limitations on what that can be from a decibel out there?
We went through this with Golden Girl when we talked about the music initially upstairs. And every other outdoor, they had exterior speakers, and we did have a comment. The other thing to make you aware of, the permit is reviewable every year, so if it is a problem, it may not be extended
Sure.
per your decision.
Mm-hmm.
Just to expand on that, Chris, the ordinance applies, so it's a, you know, commercial area, so the decibel requirements in the commercial area apply for this area. And that's the same as Lone Girl, so, you know, our officers do have access to the sound meters, and if they get a complaint, they'll go measure it at the property line.
Okay. Those are all my questions.
The question came up about the change of hours. I'm assuming if there is a request to change hours, that would come back here.
It would.
Or
So
would
right
come
now
to you
what-
at least at staff level.
Yeah, what we're proposing right now is consistent with what we've done with other establishments, and you certainly have the right to alter that.
At a date.
If you wanna like limit the amplified music, or if you wanna limit the no alcohol, cause I think we're pretty strict on the other premises to hold them to those hours. So I think the only risk that comes to my mind immediately is if we allow it for one, then you're gonna get it for
So
the
those
other
hours are
ones.
consistent with the other applicants. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I don't know that it's off the table, but it would have to come back after a period of time probably.
Yeah, I am familiar with it's the same, you know, every year it's review and totally.
And from my perspective, I would be leaning towards having to have some sort of fence from a security perspective. I don't know that the plantings are gonna be enough to
Okay.
take care of that.
So this is just an out of left field kind of question for you. So with your other restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
if there was something that you've had a problem with, what was it? If you'd be willing to share that.
Problem.
Any kind of problem.
Not enough
with the
sushi.
organization. Not enough sushi, your vendors aren't getting there in time, whatever it might be.
Oh, it's the same problem as every restaurateur is struggling right now. It's finding
Staff.
people, finding
Okay.
good people.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
So,
So.
to state that, so, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm inclined with Brian, the same thing with the fencing. I think that it makes sense from a security standpoint, but aesthetics, it will look good out there as well.
Be fine.
I would also add that I think when you have a fence, you put the table right up to it, people sit next to it, rest their arm on it. If you don't have a fence, you're gonna wanna pull it back a little bit so that you're not right at the edge of the pavement there, and you're not kinda running into the the landscaping as it grows, and so I just think it makes for better space personally.
Again, I will do what you tell me to do. So, but we just right now installed this beautiful courtyard downtown by Red, and we have planters. And I don't want to pull this picture up. I'm just saying that we currently have these beautiful planters, and we put vegetations and flowers, and it's just surrounded the perimeter of the whole space. And city was okay with that. They didn't require us to install fencing. And there are both. I think both of your comments make sense. You know, fencing, yes, you can. It makes it more enclosed and cozy, and then people could rest their arms on the railings. But I'm indifferent. And again, it's more so what required by the city for the securities, for alcohol, and we didn't have any problems at the restaurant. Mm-hmm.
Chris?
Yeah.
I could go either way. The only thing I encourage you, that if you did have planters, that they stay low because of the vibrancy that feeds off at the
Sure.
sidewalk. I want people to see that you have a wonderful place as opposed to a
Yeah.
8-foot hedge. I think that people like to watch people, and that will help your business and make it safer. So I encourage that if you do rather have planters, that be open.
Sure. Okay.
May allow you to use some different landscaping that keeps a lower profile, and
It could be a boxwood hedge or something. Yeah.
so.
There are some issues, not so much for. So right next to the restaurant, there is a body shop, and again, for guests to enjoy the outdoor experience and dining experience, I was proposing something a little higher. Maybe not along the way, but just few kind of like obscure items that will just block the view of the body shop. And so, like I said, that screen, that slide where with this landscaping proposing, maybe we could review that right now. Are you okay with that landscaping and the flowers and bushes? Because this is exactly what we're proposing to plant. So it will be taller trees, but they're not all the way through, only, just kind of mix it up. Or maybe there is another one that you prefer better. And I'm not sure if it's like a city decision of which landscaping to approve. No.
As long as you maintain them.
Okay.
We were at a staff point of giving her the flexibility.
Okay.
A good mix like that is fine. Well, as far as a screening, like you talked about, is that something that they can, not that you necessarily want to do that, but do you put like an actual, sometimes you can put like a screening up along a certain length of it? You don't want to block off your view or anything, but if you're trying to
Almost
obscure
more
it.
like shade.
Yeah, like a shade, like maybe something that comes up and
Yeah.
down or whatever.
Yeah, I'd encourage that you maintain a certain visible, so
Yeah.
that you see the people in the restaurant, even when the cafe or the courtyard isn't being used, that the lights spill out, and that you hear people, hear the clinking of the glasses, that it adds vibrancy to the street. So I think it is a 15-foot arcade, so it has some natural light, but you don't want it to be dark.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a balance between how much you block off and how much you let in.
Sure. No, I agree. I agree with you. Creating that vibe so people passing by, driving by, and see the outdoor seating and see the restaurant atmosphere, and it's absolutely affects the business and success of the business.
And it makes the street safer as well.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Agree.
Okay, any other questions, or do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit as prepared by the village attorney and in our packet.
Okay, and can I ask a question with that? Does that include the fence?
The fence is in here. Fencing for
Just
the
wanna make
outdoor
sure, since
patio
we
is
discussed
required.
I just wanna make sure,
Yep.
since we discussed it, that it was part of that. Okay, so we have a motion by Brian Wallace. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Brad Zeman. Any other comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
We look forward to seeing your
I
restaurant.
am looking forward to open it and serve you, all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, next we have discuss and take action on a request for a site plan approval, trending now, Lot 16, Waunakee Business Park. So before we get on this one, I will be recusing myself as I will be involved, my employer is involved with this, so I have to sit out of this one. So we did the motion for who's gonna run this, Brian, or Kevin, correct? In my absence?
Just be the senior person, so I don't know who that is. Probably, typically it's a senior board member, so it'd be Joe or, yeah,
So we're
I guess
gonna
that's Joe.
Joe.
Probably Joe.
Is the person that we're gonna deem into that, so I will get
Okay.
back as soon as you guys are complete.
All right, so,
Going to do a presentation? Okay, I wasn't planning on it.
Well, shorter's fine with us.
Short is fine.
any comments you want to make?
So, we're looking at, I'm Bill Rangat, and we're looking at doing a development on Lot 16, which is on the corner of Lillian Street and Unique. And the first phase is 8,000 plus minus square foot building for Trending Now production. Promotions, I'm sorry. And we're looking for access off of, one off of Unique and one off of Lillian Street. And the intention is to have the building in the same style and architectural as what we built at the Waunakee Pet Complex. So, you know, it'll have stone and it'll have the smart siding, and the roof will be at, the height of the ceiling is at 16 feet on it. And
Did you say, I'm sorry, did you say that at the vet complex?
I didn't hear you.
At the vet complex, you said?
The Waunakee Pet Complex. which
Yeah,
is-
the one, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
which has the Zen Dog Lunar Resort
Yep,
on it.
okay, gotcha.
So, and then we also are looking to have additional 17,000 square foot of building attached to this and another freestanding building, but those are in separate phases on it. Right now, we're just looking at doing the one particular building. That's the whole site development there. So this is the part that we're looking to start with here. And then that's a freestanding building, and then this will be attached to the building that we built. But at this time, we have no tenants for it, so I don't want to get it.
Our approval this evening is limited to phase one, correct?
Correct, the approval's just phase one. Just a couple of comments, Joe, and if you're done, Bill.
I'm done.
I would say that, you know, it
Let's get
exceeds
quick.
the architectural requirements, so it's a high-quality architectural building in the business park. We had a few comments that he's already submitted submissions for, but it'd still be conditions of approval. We haven't fully done the review of their revisions, and they're highlighted on page 71 of the packet. And the first one was just a pedestrian walkway as recommended by Jason. Second one was reducing the parking requirements, or requiring them to provide written explanation or justification for the additional parking lot. But I think, you know, from my perspective, he's got proposed for additional buildings, and if there's some efficiencies in building the parking lots now, that seems to make sense to me. Approval of the signage architecture by Ed and myself, that, and it meets the code requirements. Approval of the lighting plan, approval of landscaping plan, by the village engineer, and I'll rely on one of these guys to review it, that exceeds our points requirements. And then, finally, the approval of the stormwater requirements for the site improvements.
Okay. So, I guess let's open the public hearing.
There is no public hearing, so.
Oh, there isn't. I was looking at number 2, I'm sorry.
You can take comments, but
Let's start with the board. We'll start down here.
Well, pretty straightforward. If it's gonna kind of mimic what he has in the business park already.
Yep.
It's gonna work for me.
Okay. Go
No,
right down
I
the
didn't,
line.
nothing in addition to the comments that are already listed.
Okay.
No questions for me?
Question?
You said the walkway, is that the one that's depicted on there now? Or is there, are you talking along Unique?
I can show you what the plan is. The village hasn't approved it yet, but I submitted it on Friday.
An updated plan from what's in our packet, or?
Yeah, just to answer those questions, that's the dedicated walkway.
Oh, I
off
got
of
you,
Lillian
okay.
Street.
All right, thank you. And is that entrance on
That's the dedicated
Lillian
walkway.
Street far enough from the intersection?
Sidewalk.
Oh, I see, okay.
What was the question?
The
More for
distance-
that's more
yeah.
for staff, but.
It's over 100 feet, I believe. From the intersection
I
of
think Kent had agreed that, so the original should have gone straight south, and this was in response to prior comments.
originally went like this.
Okay, all right.
We brought it over this direction.
What's, I can't see the plan, what's the distance between that driveway and the roadway?
115 feet.
Yeah, 100, that's our typical standard.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, I don't think.
Just a, I guess one thing for me, what's the sort of squared off part there? What's the reasoning behind that?
This,
Right there, yeah.
that's where the additional parking lot's gonna continue on.
Okay, sure. Makes sense.
There wasn't, I'm sorry, I do have one more question. There was a
Go
note
ahead.
about signage in here. But I take it that's to be submitted later or for approval?
Well, I think you got two options in terms of, go ahead, Bill.
There is it is marked on the landscape plan that we submitted to you previously, on the old site plan. There's it's a marquee sign right there on the top, the blue line.
But no details been submitted.
Yeah, Brian, I think
Sizes.
what I'd ask for, and certainly you guys, if you want to see the signage come back, you can do that. Otherwise, I'd written it the way that Ed and myself would have to sign off on the signage in terms of the architecture and the
Okay.
location.
And building lighting as well, and,
Yeah.
If you've been up by the one that we built up there, the idea was to use roughly the same type of sign, same with the stone and the same
okay.
finishes on it. And except in having 4 businesses, it would have spots to have 5.
What's the intended timeline for construction then?
March 20th start. If the approvals are in place, and the plan is that Trinity now would move in by middle of August.
Would, I assume at some point your existing space would be vacated then? Is that immediate?
For Trinity now,
Yeah, or is this an
They-
additional space, or?
they're,
We, can I sit, stand? We are relocating, this is a complete relocation
Okay.
and expansion of the business.
Okay.
It is now.
Their lease is running out at
Sure.
the current spot.
Okay. Any other questions? Looking for a motion then?
I'll make it a motion to approve with the condition that all staff comments are revised to the satisfaction of the village engineer.
Okay, motion by Kristen,
Second.
second by Brian. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one? The motion carries.
Where's he hiding?
Nice and quick. Let's just keep going real quick.
But can you, grab Chris, tell him, oh, is he coming back?
I think it's where Ed's headed. Searching for him. He's locked somewhere in the back in the soundproof room.
Will we let her know? Will we not let her know?
Where is that safe back there?
There is.
Don't lock yourself in.
Yeah, we don't know that.
You know the combination, Kevin? No, nobody does. That's not good, I know.
Where,
Welcome back.
you know, I was out there, but it was middle of
Took care of business.
Okay, very good.
clear cutting.
Okay, so I'm back in chairman's role at 6:35. And we're on to the next item, which is public hearing, discussion action on a request for minor amendment to general development plan, a zoning document, and approval of updated final plat, adding 2 additional single-family lots for Arboretum Village. located near Quinn Drive and Hogan Road. Kevin?
That's a pretty good explanation in the title, so that's a lot of detail there. So yeah, it's really a minor amendment in staff's mind that we're converting two single-family lots into two duplex lots. So with that, the minor amendment requires a public hearing process in order to approve it.
Okay, do we have any presentations or?
I
Should I just
think
open up the
Don's,
public hearing?
we got some pictures he sent me that he probably wants to put up.
Put those up there,
Yeah.
Kevin?
That's not the one.
Tight one.
Does that work, or do you want the other one?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
One driveway.
Do you want me to just kind of explain a bit? I got a call from a real estate person, and this was the first building that we built, a condo. We actually, my boys were in high school, and we that was kind of our project. If you notice the covered bridge right off to the left, that was actually built in the 1900s, 1999. The cool thing was, and Roberto will remember this, Bob Richardson, we took an Amish guy, Paul Mast, and we started in Portage, and we went all the way to Franconia Knott State Park. And the train stopped on Thanksgiving Day in Springfield, Massachusetts. We rented a car, and we found the famous Flume Bridge. And it's basically a carbon copy of it. Ironically, Jim's sign shop, where Quick Trip expanded on Main Street, we took a picture of it, and the Flume Bridge is 19 and a half. This one is like 14. And Jim's sign actually took these 2 sheets of plywood, and he moved the camera. He moved it until it got exactly, I think it was 14.9. And then he took a marker and traced it. And Bob Richardson, we call him Ponytail Bob. We owe a lot to him. He had quite an imagination. And then Jim's sign shop drew that arch. And if you go to Franconia Knott State Park, the famous Flume Bridge, it's basically identical except for it's a little narrower. So, at any rate, and there was a couple farmers stopped in. They said, "Tierney, what are you doing, building this out in the middle of nowhere?" And I said, "We got to have a way to get to the swimming pool." And the swimming pool did get there. But anyway, so I got a call from a realtor a short time ago, and one of the condos, the one next door, a doctor, good friend of mine, who actually is moving to the Lamp House in Waunakee. It's good you have that beautiful project. They sold it, and it was over $500,000 for half that duplex. And a realtor called me and has a couple that want to have a luxury liner. And that's what we called them. They had elevated floors, they're beautiful. So they can pick their own builder. So they said, why don't you pick out 3 of the best lots coming up in Arboretum Village, backed up to the natural area, and have the flexibility to put a luxury liner versus, so we picked out 3 very wide lots. They're 90-some feet wide. And that way, it's like a quarterback option play. You can run it or pitch it. There could be a big single-family home in there, or there could be a luxury liner, meaning 2 families would live there. And the other thing that came up, we added 2 lots, and we've been watching the housing study, so we took 2 of the biggest lots we had in the interior, and we made them smaller. And therefore, they're more affordable, so we added 2 lots. And that's where the extra 2 lots came from.
Okay, so I'm going to open up the public hearing. Do we have any schlips? Do we have anybody who'd like to address us on this issue?
2 questions. Sorry, Robert McPherson, 1703 Alexandria Court. 2 questions. One question, just as a formality, just so we can understand in the public. Will this have any impact on the housing count ratio? Because there's proposed multifamily in this as well. So would that have an impact if it went from single-family residence to a duplex in that calculation, pending anything the CBA does to change the 75-25 rule? Second question, since the applicant brought it up in his presentation, just curious, those 2 smaller lots that are designed for affordability, what the anticipated housing cost would be for those houses once built.
So I guess you want to answer the
Well,
first
yeah,
part?
it's a public hearing. If there's any other comments, we
sorry.
can try and
Yep,
answer all
okay.
of them.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mary Heinbecker, 306 West 3rd Street. I was also curious about the affordability being on that housing task force and working all those months on it. What exactly the affordability of those two smaller lots would be?
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Kevin?
Okay, I can answer the first one. I think I don't know about because they're market rate. We don't have any. I don't have any information on the cost of the lots, but in terms of answering your question, the parking the multifamily ratio, the duplexes actually count as single-family lots, so they actually would actually create more multifamily available by adding more units. And then the costs I'd have to defer to Don.
Don, do you want to make any comments on that?
Sure. I would say the advantage we have, we welcome a wide array of builders. You know, and I think back when the original Savannah Village was built, there was a gentleman that worked for the Coldest Lumber Company. And we sold him a lot, and he built his home. He worked on weekends. He did a beautiful job. The problem was, it was with the parks and everything and the really cool neighborhood. I talked with him a couple years later, and his house escalated in value quite a bit. So in other words, at the time, this would have been 1999, I think he paid about $32,000 for the lot, and he worked very hard, and he built this very reasonable. But because it's a cool community, the prices escalated, so the value of his house went up tremendously, which I think is kind of cool. And so it's really hard to answer that. You might, if let's say that you're a good carpenter and you bought a lot from Don Tierney, your Uncle Willie helped you and you built a house, you saved some money, you can do it pretty reasonable. Because I leave the flexibility, it isn't like our company has to build it. You have the flexibility to go out and find a company that you like working with.
Can I rephrase the cost question? What's the difference between a 70-foot lot and a 90-foot lot in your price to sell the lot?
I would say that if you figured roughly $1,100 a foot, so if you took a lot that's 61 feet, you could have a lot for $70,000 versus if you just do the math on it. So and we will have some lots that will start probably at $75,000. And so that really, and the old rule of thumb is, if you ask somebody that built a house 30 years ago, what did you pay for the lot? Now this is a fully improved city sewer and water lot. And if you went back a generation and you said, you know, my dad bought the house and everything for $100,000, and I'll look at him and I'll say, I bet he paid 20 grand for the lot. It's usually it's 20%. If you go back many, many years, usually you take the price of the lot and you can go times 5. So if it's a $100,000 lot, it's $500,000. If it's a $50,000 lot, it's $250,000. It's a pretty good rule of thumb.
Okay. Plan Commission members, let's see, I'll start on the inside this time and go out. Kirsten, any questions?
Not yet.
Joe?
Could you address why you want specifically these 3 lots versus blanketing the whole thing to give you the flexibility?
Yes, sir. The reason I had to pick lots that were at least 90 feet wide.
Okay.
Because if you put a duplex on them with the setback, and we're not asking for more than the Waunakee, what the Waunakee utility wants is 6 feet for a side yard. We're not changing that. So when you take 6 feet on each side, you need to find a lot that's at least 90 feet wide or wider, so you can put a luxury liner on it, a wide duplex.
Any others?
Nope, that's it.
Chris?
You mentioned the 90 feet. I'm seeing that on 45, I guess 49 and 50, that'd be on the back part of the lot to get to the 90 feet?
If you go about where the building envelope is, it gets real close. Let's say it was the best I picked out the best three I could find.
Are you looking at lot, which lot?
45, 49, and 50.
49, the one you're in 50?
49 and 50, both ones I
So
questioned.
when they're pie shaped like that, the house it isn't right in front, but by the time you get with the setback.
Anything, okay, Brian? This Brian?
I mean, we're kind of flirting around, I guess, my question, and I'm just trying to envision a duplex on like lot 50. How would you lay something out like that? I mean, it's a detailed question, unfortunately.
That
but
one would probably be,
looking like at the image that you had up before, I thought was a really neat duplex.
You could take that and you could take a helicopter and set it right in there.
Still do that on
We
that
did that.
narrow of front?
Correct.
No, I was just a little curious about that.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Brian? Brian W.
Yeah, so, am I misunderstanding something, or is it just because of the available, that it talked about making one large lot into two smaller lots? Can you elaborate on that? In addition to this, or did I misread something here?
I think I can clarify the confusion. So there's 2 lots that have been added, and then there are 3 lots that are being reclassified as potential.
Okay, so what 2 lots were added then?
So the north side of Reese Trail and the north side of Prairie View Drive, the string of lots there, one more lot has been inserted. So the prior version had 80 to 90 foot lots, and now they're 70-foot lots. So on each of those block faces, there's one more lot added.
Okay, so if I'm looking at this, which is up there, so between, probably not including 86, but 87 through 91 or 90, were
Yeah.
adjusted to put another lot in there.
Exactly.
And the same thing up on Prairie View between,
72 to 76.
were
that-
adjusted to put another lot in there. Okay, fair
So
enough.
that's where the 2 new lots came
Yep,
in.
and this reflects that change. Okay, all right. That's all I have.
Brad?
I've seen the concept work in his other neighborhoods, so.
Okay. My only question is the 90-foot that you're talking about, Don? You got 45, 46, and 47, all have that 90-foot in the front. And 45 is the smallest of them, of the lots. Is that why it was chosen? It's got 11,576 square feet versus 13 and 15.
No, the reason we took 45 is because the 75-foot setback on that particular lot, because of the area behind it, it backs up. It gave us the depth of the lot. If you look at the 75-foot offset,
I can point.
on 45, it moved back. And we needed that because these luxury liners are pretty deep.
So this line here is, you can't build into that, and then here it comes into these ones.
Okay. All right, good answer. Thank you for sharing that. I just was looking at that thinking, why do we pick the smallest one of them if we're splitting it?
That
It's
was
the biggest
follow-up
building
to my
envelope,
thought as well.
and even though the lot's smaller, there's a large area to put a home.
Setback that
Yep.
clips the lot.
Okay.
43 and 40,
I've got a question now.
or 42.
Kristen?
All right, so what I'm getting from this is that you have somebody that's already interested in these
Yes.
duplex, and so are you guys gonna be developing them yourself then? Just out of curiosity. Are you gonna be building them?
Not unless we have to.
Okay, not unless you have to.
See, when he was in high school and he worked for me for nothing, it was a great thing to have him framing and everything. Now he demands more pay, so it's.
Oh, it's a
you
great
pick
way to
your own
reduce
builder.
your labor costs, to have your kids work for you, yeah. And then second, remind me, did you have any plans for multifamily in this development at all, or is this all single-family homes?
So if you wanna scroll.
61? Yeah.
This whole area.
And that was still kinda up in the air?
Up in the air.
Okay,
And we'd come in with the SIP
okay.
plans. once we figure out.
Just 61 is for multifamily?
It could be, we might put a retirement, we just might put some twin homes on it. And I'll tell you, the reason for many years, I wouldn't want an apartment anywhere near anything I had. But I just went through the ones in Kilkenny Farms, the Laurel Apartments, you should walk through there. Wow, they're absolutely beautiful.
So what were 94 through 98 then, or, 'cause I remember we talked about,
Those are duplex condos.
those are duplex condos.
Yes.
So what'll be the difference between the 94, 98 duplex condo price point and the luxury liners? I'm assuming the luxury liners are gonna be like 500, 550, 600 is.
The 3 lots we picked out, they're kind of like really cool lots.
They're great lots, yeah.
So if somebody wants to have a really super cool lot and they want to live in a luxury liner, they have that option. And the ones that are in Quinn Drive, the reason we did that is because they're fronted to Quinn Drive, and what White can do is we can have it so that nobody has to back out. They actually can have a turning radius, and that's really what drove that. It's gonna work out great because they can simply drive out instead of backing out on the street. Yeah, the buildings, they could all be luxury liners.
Okay,
The buildings themselves will
Yeah.
be similar
okay.
to the other three.
It's just that there was a person was a little bit upset that they missed out on buying that 17-year-old home, that luxury line that we built. And they were a little upset, and they said, why don't you take a couple of the best lots you have and give us the option of being able to, and they can pick their own builder. A lot of times we do that, and especially if they're a Parade of Homes builder, we give them an incentive package.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, then we'd look for a motion.
I'll move to approve the minor amendment to the general development plan for Arboretum Village as presented, subject to final review and approval by the village engineer and village attorney.
Motion by Joe Zitzelberger,
Second.
second by Chris Thomas. Any other comments?
Does that include the plat?
That's a separate motion.
So, motion and a second. Do we have any other comments? Okay, then I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I'll follow it up with a motion to approve the updated final plat for Arboretum Village, which adds 2 additional single-family lots to the plat.
So motion by Joe Zitzelberger.
Second.
Is that you, Brian? Second by Brian Wallace. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, next we have our Waunakee Westport items. So we have a public hearing and discussion action rezone county R1 to village R1 to adjust rear setback for addition Udo, 6091 Imperial Drive, Town of Westport.
Yeah, so the public hearing is just at the Joint Planning Commission, and this is really to rezone the property from county R1 to village R1. And they did a consultation, and you may remember, this is to add 18.5 feet off the back of the building, or back of the existing structure.
Do we see any reason why we in Waunakee would
I can't imagine anybody want to keep.
have an issue
carrying-
with that one? Okay, does anybody have an issue with it that you'd want to tell
See
our
no reason to
joint
vote.
plan commissioners? Is it all good?
Yep.
Everybody's good? Okay.
Yep, we had that one earlier.
Next, we have discuss and take action on certified survey map, Naprella 5531 Sunset Trail, Town of Westport.
This is just a split into 2 lots, and it really is consistent with the neighborhood, so this was like an oversized lot that they're gonna split in half. And with the split, the cadence or the consistency of the density is consistent with the neighborhood.
Did we see this a couple of months ago?
Saw this
I-
last
We
month.
would've saw this as a concept.
That was last month.
Yeah.
Okay, any have any issues, or we good to move on with that one too?
No, this was pretty well favored. I mean,
Okay.
it matched with what the current zoning and lot sizes were.
Okay. Then the last one is, we pulled from tonight, so.
Yep.
We don't need to do anything with that, so then we'd have one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Brad Zeman,
Second?
second by Kristen Runge, to adjourn. All the question, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you for your pen for a minute there.